Hi everyone, this is Kyle with kayDbait. I wanted to make a whole bunch of videos about every subject, about everything that I have an opinion on or that I've been learning about, and I'm interested in sharing my thoughts on hundreds and hundreds of videos. And I know I haven't made very many yet, and I hope to continuously make them and not get burned out and stop. But I'm also trying to make sure that the subjects that I pick are they're not just topical, but also that they mean something. Oh, I can make a video on food, or I can make a video on proper oral hygiene. Brush your teeth every day and stuff like that. But I'm also not trying to make things all political or religious or about really complex issues that people are just going to get mad about no matter what you say. I want to make videos on things that matter, on things that are positive. They're things that help. And it's really hard to find subjects like that continuously to make something that isn't just like, it's really easy to say, I'm really passionate about this. I really, really want to make a difference in this area. And then you do that and then you're done. And you just move on from that. It's really hard to keep doing that over and over again. So, I also have the problem of wanting to explain myself further when I make a comment about something, like my comment about generosity and being kind to others, and the concept of the Good Samaritan. I was having an inner monologue thing in my head earlier today about that, because I was like, did I explain it properly? Could I have explained it this way? Could I have done it this way? And I came to, it's not really a realization, I've known this for a long time, but the Good Samaritan concept, the idea that, be kind to others because they deserve it, and, you shouldn't, hurt people for no reason and stuff like that. There are people in the world that will hurt you because they can. There are people in this world who will not care no matter what you do. They will hurt you. They will destroy you if they can. I know murderers. I know rapists. I know them. I've actually met them, talked to them. I didn't know, and then they told me, and I don't treat them differently, but when they started trying to hurt me, some of them actually did try to hurt me eventually. I distanced myself from them, and one of them actually robbed me, and I had to take them to court, which was really bad because there was a lot of threats involved, and they tried to destroy my life, and it's really hard to be like, this is when I said in my previous video, that I would help my friends if I had $1 million. If I had a lot of money, I would help my friends. The reason I won't give the money to strangers is because I have been doing that. I have been giving a lot of my money, a lot of my time, a lot of my energy to people that I didn't know who said they needed help. And every single one of them to this point, besides one, has not taken advantage of that. I'm not saying it is everyone. I'm not saying turn away everyone. I'm saying you have to be aware of what's going on and to act fairly and according to your own moral guidance as well. So if I had money, I would give the money to the people that I know it would help. It's not helping these people. They're taking advantage of me, and it's enabling them to act that way to other people. Because you give somebody who wants everything all you have, they're just going to move on to the next person right afterwards, no matter how much you give them. And I know it's hard to understand that there are people that just want everything, and there's no pleasing them, and it's how abusive relationships happen. You can give them everything and they'll just take and take and take, and they'll still blame you for their own faults. I know that there are people that you can be gentle and kind and caring, and they will just hurt you for no their own faults. They will hurt you because they are broken. And that's one of the things that will always come up in my videos is I've been hurt a lot. I've been trying, and I don't want to boast about the things that I've done, because all of the bad things that happened to me in my life were either my own mistakes, my own misjudgments, or actions that were, they didn't have enough foresight, or they didn't have enough awareness of the situation that I was in. They were my fault, but I also have to know that the people involved. It's like, how do I explain this? I had this in another video. People like to blame the victim because a lot of the times people have the mentality of the opportunity makes the thief. If you have somebody that would have acted morally had you not given them the opportunity to act immorally, then they wouldn't have done that immoral act. It's the rapists are the victim because the woman had it coming because they were dressed in a certain way. That's actually a really, really bad one. Then there's if you don't want to be considered a bad person, don't speak a certain way, or don't hang out in locations that have a certain association with them. Those are, like the ghetto. Don't live in the ghetto because, you'll be assumed to be a criminal if you're there. That's dehumanizing the poor. That's dehumanizing the people that don't have the ability to get out of those situations. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to say that anything like that. I do believe that somebody who acts immorally should be held accountable for their actions. And if somebody was set up to do a certain thing, because you can manipulate people into doing things that they wouldn't normally do, but generally that is, it's above and beyond, just one thing. It's not, this guy couldn't handle this beautiful woman, so he raped her. It's he wanted to do this act and didn't consider the repercussions, or he thought he can get away with it, or he just doesn't hold other people's their value as a person above his own needs. So there are people like that. There are people that will take their own value system, which everyone has their own, but they will take it and they will not consider other people's value in anything. They won't consider other people as even slightly important. Or maybe they do, but only certain people in certain situations, and only if it doesn't contradict their own. I know several people that they'll be really, really, really nice to you as long as you're giving them what they want. And no matter how many years you've been friends with them and helping them, one thing they will literally kill you if they think that at any point you can bring even the mildest inconvenience to them. They were insane, and I've known people like that, and two of them in rapid succession that were really bad. But there's when I say I'm not trying to be boastful, when I'm saying I'm not trying, when I give the examples of my life, because I mentioned boastfulness a minute ago, when I try to give examples of my own life and all these hardships that I've been in and all these problems that I've had, and then in my last video I said sorry, the lighting just changed. Okay, there it goes. It's fixed again. I don't know this is a terrible webcam, by the way. I'm getting a better one. Actually, it should have come in the mail. I don't see it anywhere though, because I've been out. When I say all those things about not being boastful, I have tried to be generous to everyone. I've tried to be giving. I've tried to be understanding. I've tried to be all the different synonyms for the same words. It's just I gave every penny I had on 3 separate occasions. Every penny I had, I didn't have money for food. All I had was I had just paid rent and I was going to get money in the future, but I didn't have food for a week following at least one of those times. I don't remember about the other 2, but I didn't eat for 3 days. And the only reason I did eat was because somebody offered me some food. And I didn't have money for, you see, this is the thing. People say, and I had this argument a few days ago with somebody online. It was kind of an argument. It was on Facebook, so I don't know how valued that can be considered an argument or, just people yelling at each other. But they were yelling at somebody who said, give your money to the poor. But he was rich. So this person was saying, well, he should give all of his money to the poor if he thinks people should do that. And I said, well, maybe he doesn't think that'll help his money or a culture shift. Because the guy was calling, I believe, for a culture shift. So it was some politician somewhere, and it was one of those famous quotes is, when I was poor and I called for equality, people said I was bitter. Now that I'm rich and I call for equality, people call me a hypocrite because he's rich. He's technically above them now. So equality means he should donate all of his money until he's poor again. But regardless of who said that and what situation that person is in, that's outside of the conversation. That is a point of where the discussion started. But once you start calling it in as a point for action or inaction, or as your main point of discussion, you've missed what the actual discussion is about, which is what the person said. It's never about the person. The person can be, you can be Hitler, you can be Mother Teresa, you can be Gandhi, you can be, anyone. You can be the president, or you can be, a crazy person that doesn't know what they're talking about. What they say can still have meaning and value. It doesn't matter who said it. And I kept trying to bring that up. Okay, you don't like this guy, you hate him, okay. Doesn't matter who said it. Why do you not think that people should give to the poor? Or why do you think that his call for equality is wrong? And their idea, as far as I could tell, because I asked them and they answered in a fairly clear thing, is we can help. Donating does help, but it kind of doesn't matter, I guess. It wasn't clear what they were saying, and I stopped getting responses from them, so I don't know exactly, because I always ask for clarification when I don't understand. And my counter to that, which is they didn't respond to, was, if you do not believe that a single donation of all of your wealth and time and energy, because you can give your entire, people do that. They just go and they volunteer for the rest of their life, and they don't make money. All they do is get food and housing, and all their time is spent helping others. You can do that. If you don't believe that'll actually make a meaningful difference, or you believe that calling for a cultural change will have a more significant difference, a positive change, then of course the moral action would be to do that instead. Now, anyone can look at somebody who has it better off financially or situationally or whatever. Anyone can look at somebody like that and resent them or respect them or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's one of the problems people have, is they identify with the speaker as either a good or a bad person, and then they put that around what is being said as opposed to looking at what is said. So because I didn't know the guy. I have no idea who this politician is. I don't follow him. I don't know who he is. I said, I flat out, I don't care. I don't know, because we're talking about this. Now, I'll learn about him. I will. I'm not going to actively be ignorant towards him. I want to know who he is because I'm interested in what he's saying. But in this discussion, stop bringing it up as a point of yes or no. You can say, okay, this is where he's coming from. This is his reasoning. Okay, now I understand his reasoning. Let's talk about the extrapolate on it. Learn about other avenues of thought, other avenues of discussion, because it's a quote. I don't even know if it's in context and what the context is. I don't know anything about this conversation, and they're not bringing that up. They're just saying, I don't like him because he's this, this, and this. That's what he is. That's not what he's saying. So, I know I'm repeating myself, but my response was, maybe he doesn't think donating his wealth will matter, because then he'll be poor again. He won't have as much of a voice. Being rich, being powerful, influential has other uses than just donating all of your money, and then it's cashing in the big thing of the lottery as opposed to taking the payments kind of thing. He might have more influence over time. Having a cultural shift can happen. You can do that. It's happened, usually in a bad way, but not necessarily in a bad. You can do it in any direction. You can have cultural laws are supposed to follow the morals of the time period that they're in. That's why outdated laws may have been moral at the time, and then they kind of shifted because technology and knowledge of how the universe works shifts. And then we realize that, well, it wasn't actually moral. We just thought it was moral. Or maybe it was moral and now it's not because there's other avenues of doing things. It's like new laws to deal with the new cultures that appear. You know how something can be moral in one country but immoral in another because the cultures are different? That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our culture can change as a nation, as a people. And so our laws have to follow that morality, the moral shifts. I do believe that some things don't change, like murdering people should never be legal. Raping people should never be legal. There's things that are just inherently wrong that will always be wrong. And I believe there's certain things that are right that can always be right, such as equality. And when I say equality, I'm not talking about what a lot of people use as an argument against equality, because that was one of the things on the side of it, because it's Being Liberal Logic was the Facebook page. And I get it because one of my friends on Facebook likes things from it a lot. And all it does is make fun of being liberal, which or liberal logic, or I don't remember what the main page is called, but it's the exact same picture except it has the scumbag Steve hat on top of it. And all they do is like pages from that kind of. There's being liberal logic and being classically liberal and just things like that. And they're all making fun of this other page that I don't know about. I'm not a libertarian. I kind of know what it is. I looked into it for a while, but I don't understand why people identify so strongly with one classification of politics and then they dismiss all other things and actively attack everything else, even if it's pretty much in line with what they think. It's just, they said it, therefore it's wrong, even though what they said matters. It can be in line with what you're saying. So it's a dividing factor I don't like. But Being Liberal Logic was saying that they posted two images, which was a picture of the guy's private jet, the guy that had said the quote, private jet. Number one, you're a hypocrite, because the guy said they called me a hypocrite because I'm rich now. And then it says, number one, you are a hypocrite. Number two, inequality isn't bad, because they showed it is the life happiness chart pretty much in all the countries. It's kind of a survey thing that they do around the world, where it's not from the Facebook page. It's universal online, where they ask people, what do you value? Do you have what you value? Are you happy? It's like the happiness census kind of thing. And I'll link it below. It's a really confusing kind of chart, and I didn't fully understand it because it's not intuitive. I need to look into it much more deeply to understand it. And it shows the United States really high on the list. I think it's number 3 or number 4 on the list. Somewhere between 3 and 5 on the list of all the countries in the world. We're one of the happiest, and we're actually one of the richest, and we have, some of the best housing. And it was I couldn't really understand because there was no hard numbers on it. There was no, it was just a kind of a sliding chart that all of them were there, and they were kind of on the same graph, and some of them were, Mexico was way below everything else, just way below everything else. And the United States was really, really high. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. But when you use that as a defining factor for your argument of saying you're a hypocrite, which is attacking a person, it's not, he can be a hypocrite. I don't know. I mean, but that doesn't matter if what he's saying has value. The second thing, inequality isn't bad. It is bad. You're using a chart that describes a subjective comparison to other countries of how happy they are. And you're saying, okay, well, the top 10% of the country owns this amount of wealth and this amount of influence, and the bottom 10% have this amount of whatever and this amount of whatever. So inequality is fine because look how happy we are anyway. But that is not a good argument. It is an argument. I'll give him that. There is value in that statement, but it's so vague. It's so hard to actually quantify, because I don't know how large the survey was. I don't know who they asked, in what demographics or what parts of the United States. It just said United States was this rank. And it does have little bits in it, but I clicked on the United States, and there really wasn't a lot of information on what they did. Now, again, I need to look into it more. I need to understand where they got the information and how they gathered it, so that I can give a quantifiable, analysis. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna look into this, and I'm gonna say, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. I don't understand this, and that's what I do, is I try to understand more before I start talking about it. But that argument in itself, you're using outside data, which is good. You're using stuff that you didn't do. because when you hold your own data, then you generally are biased about it. That's why some news organizations that do that kind of bug me. It's like, oh, look, we had a new survey and everyone agrees with us. I don't like that. It's like that McDonald's commercial that said all of our food is healthy. I'm like, wait, what? Who funded? Oh, McDonald's funded it. That's a red flag. I don't think that's true. It literally said at the end of it, funded by and sponsored by McDonald's. I'm like, what? Because everything they said in it was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. Wait, what? That's not true. And I was like, no, don't do that. It bothers me. But anyone can believe what they want. There's data everywhere, but you have to understand where it comes from. But anyway, getting back to the argument they had. The argument they had was that, and this was the post, not the person. The post had this image in it of that graph and saying inequality is not bad. And one of my arguments with equality to me means fairness, in situation, in treatment. So a lot of people think equality is everyone makes the exact same amount, no matter how hard you work. Some people believe equality means there is no rich, there is no poor. It's pretty much the idea of communism or socialism or any of the isms that we hate. In the United States, we hate communism. We hate socialism because it goes against capitalism or it goes against freedom. It goes against all the things. Though we have this love for freedom and this love for equality, but only the equality that gives us equal opportunity, which I believe is also good. Equal opportunity is good. It's something that everyone should have. I don't believe everyone does have it, and that's what I mean by fairness. We can say we are free. We can say we are equal, but we're not expressing it in a very efficient way. Our prisons are arguably filled with, certain kinds of people, and our police forces are in parts of the United States more against certain people, and also the poor they exist. The extremely wealthy exist, and some people say, well, they earned their place. Whether the poor people just didn't work, they're all drug addicts, they're all rapists or murderers, they all deserve it. Whatever, you can believe all that. I don't agree with that. And the super rich, they say, well, they worked hard every day, so they got all this stuff. Again, I disagree with that as a sign of deserving, because I know people that work more than 40 hours a week. I know people that work 3 jobs very diligently, and the reason they don't get ahead is because of a lot of different factors that are not necessarily their fault or anything they can compensate for. There are only so many CEO jobs in the United States. There's only so many super executive jobs in the United States. There has to be garbage men. There has to be mechanics. There has to be janitors at schools. There have to be lower paying jobs for our economy and our infrastructure to work. So you cannot say the hardworking person will get ahead, because the positions that are available to certain people or the expertise of certain people may not pay as much as they deserve. Teachers are generally very underpaid. Janitors are very underpaid sometimes. There are a lot of people that it's just a cultural issue. It's saying, okay, we hate garbage men for some reason because they're smelly or dirty or uneducated or whatever. I respect garbage men a lot. Their job is hard. Their job is demeaning because people demean them. It's not demeaning in itself. It's demeaning because other people do that. You can't take somebody's pride, but you can attack somebody and say they should be ashamed of themselves and stuff like that. And I don't like that. Somebody that works a very difficult job it's not glamorous. It's not something that somebody dreams or aspires to be. But I can respect somebody that says, I want to do my job and I want to do it well. I respect people that do that. And when somebody else looks down on them and say, well, the reason you're poor is because you're not working hard enough, or you don't have the dreams to be something better. But what if their dream is just to be a hardworking person that does what they think is good? And I see people like my dad told me this all the time: is do what you love. You can take a pay cut as long as you're doing something. You get the job that you like, that you want to do. Because, getting ahead, you might hate your job, and why the heck are you even doing it? Oh, you make money, so what? So, I don't have very much value in money. I never have. I know that it is a means to an end. You can use it, to not die in a hospital. You can get money to get a doctor. You can get money to get food. You can get money to, get a gym membership or whatever. You can get things with money. So it is a means to an end. It is not an end in itself. But when I see these people, you see them everywhere. There is always going to be people that believe they are better than other people because they have more money. That's just going to exist as long as we maintain our human traits of dividing factors that we really like to do to people. When somebody works hard, doesn't matter how much they make, doesn't matter how much they're respected by their community. I respect them as a person. So I disagree with that mentality, because it exists, and that mentality is what breeds these kinds of comments and behavior, where when somebody does a demeaning task, they're a janitor, they're a garbage man, they're somebody that does something that other people don't respect, they're not going to be represented very well by the country as a whole. They're going to be looked down on by the people near the top. And that's what I mean by inequality. It's not necessarily that they don't have enough. It's just that they're not getting their fair amount, or they're not getting, like the minimum wage argument. You can make the minimum wage argument, and it's very controversial. No one's going to agree on it ever. There's always going to be people that hate it. But you have to understand that if you're not respected as a person, if your job is not respected, then you're going to be mistreated, especially by the people that make more than you, the managers, the people that own the companies. If they don't respect you, they don't understand what you do is hard or whatever, because they think that because you're not making very much, you don't deserve very much, which is a self-propagating issue, which I don't understand. But think about this is the way I think about it. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said think about it this way, but this is the way I think about it. People that argue against minimum wage, from what I have had in conversations, most of them make more than minimum wage that are arguing against it. People that are calling for minimum wage generally don't make minimum wage. They don't make more than what minimum wage would be if they raised it, is what I meant to say. But I have seen crossover. I've seen people that do make minimum wage, like $15 an hour. They do make $15 an hour, and they're still calling for it. But it's rare because it doesn't do anything for them. It just does something for somebody else, which is a hard thing to do because they feel that they're going to lose something in the process. They won't get their next raise, or they might get a demotion because of it, or people might get fired. And here's one of the things that I've always had a problem with. No matter what your arguments are, everyone has an argument for each side, which is fine. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. Everyone's allowed to have their voice heard, depending on, if it's hate speech or whatever. But that doesn't mean people have to agree with you. It doesn't mean people have to fully understand you because, they're busy. Maybe they don't have time to think about what you said. So, that's that's something else. I think people should give you the time of the day, but that doesn't necessarily mean, if you're really, really vague, then people aren't going to understand you. But when somebody says something insulting or dehumanizing or demeaning as their argument, I don't agree with that. I have seen, and I don't know why they posted this on Facebook. It was a picture of a McDonald's employee. It was McDonald's in the background. It was a cartoon. But it was a picture of a lady saying, "I demand $15 an hour because I deserve it. I work hard and I should get it." And then right below that, it's somebody trying to giving her a $20 bill and saying exactly how much change they should get. When if you do all the math, the number's correct. And the lady's like, I don't understand. I need to go get a manager. It's insulting their intelligence. It's insulting them as a person. I know personally, which again isn't necessarily an argument as a whole, but we all know people personally that have crummy jobs that don't pay very much, and they're intelligent people. They might not have the drive to get a better job, or maybe they're just in between jobs, or they're not stupid inherently. So saying they're stupid inherently is a dehumanizing factor. It's generalizing them. It's all putting them. It's saying these people that want 15 an hour don't deserve it because they're idiots. That is not fair. That is not a fair argument. You can have a fair argument for and against the $15 an hour minimum wage. It exists. There is a conversation that needs to be had. That's why I try to always push for the conversation, because no matter what I believe, there is always a more in-depth conversation. You shouldn't just listen to me. You shouldn't just agree with me, because that undermines everything I'm saying. It's hard. It takes energy to have these conversations. And a lot of people don't want to. They want to either be told what the answer is or just have somebody agree with them already. They don't care. And that's one of the biggest issues, is people care, but not very much. They care enough to get outraged, but just enough to get them to give them that little taste of self-righteous, that taste of, yeah, I really got him. I that angry letter or that post that I made really riled him up. Self-righteous stupidity. It's all the yeah. It doesn't matter. You're not talking. You're yelling, and you're not saying anything. You're vomiting. Both sides, every side has that. So the loudest people are usually the ones that have the weakest arguments. Generally, the least articulate doesn't necessarily mean your point isn't valid. It just means that you might not understand how to make the argument, which is why I try to give people the benefit of the doubt when they're saying something. It's like, do you mean this? Please elaborate. Please re-explain this. I don't understand. But when you're spewing hate, knowing that your stuff is racist or bigoted or just hate, just angry nonsense, I will read it. I will try to understand where you're coming from. Maybe you were wronged by someone of that race. Maybe you hate women. Maybe you feel entitled to getting more than people that make less than you right now, so you don't want to give them your money. I don't know. There are a lot of people that the only reason they act a certain way is because they hate a certain group and don't want them to have anything. Those people exist too. So you have to be careful. You have to understand where somebody's coming from, because, okay, you have the differentiation between a person speaking and what they're saying. But you also have to understand that if the person is pushing an agenda over and over again, you also have to understand that, so you can be more careful about because you can word things in a way that is very persuasive, and they might know why you're being persuasive. They might not even know that you're doing it. So it is important. But when you're talking about somebody else or something that they said and the context isn't there, you have to understand their context as well. So there's just so much that needs to be understood, and people don't want to do it. They don't want to be understood. They want to be listened to, agreed with, and given what they want. And this video is all over the place. Started off with one thing, went to another. Just all reiterations. I've said this every time I've made a video that has been on anything even remotely similar to this. Think about things, understand things, and just learn and comprehend before responding with stupidity. Please don't respond with stupidity. It's not hard. It's just not easy. It's not the easy way. It's not, earlier I said it's hard because there's so many different facets of it, but the most basic, the most lowest level of doing this is don't be outraged, because outrage is generally a knee-jerk reaction of, I am offended or I'm angry, so I'm going to leave a hateful comment somewhere without understanding anything about it. Don't do that. And then there's like a window. There's the super easy, which is what most people do, because they're the loud. Okay, I shouldn't say most. I should say the loudest people do. It's what the stupid people do, or people being stupid anyway. And then you have the slower ones that are like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And sometimes they have an agenda. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just not invested or whatever, and they're just curious. And then you have the people that are just they're super involved in it, but they also have an agenda, or super involved in it because they care honestly about something. And then you have the people that are just manipulating everybody, and they control the conversation through erasing people's posts, or blocking people's pages and whatever, or just giving misinformation everywhere. Then you have those kinds of people, which are really bad. So the easiest thing to do is to understand a situation before commenting on it. It's simple. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's simple. So take those steps and you'll be fine. You'll understand. The world will be a better place if people did that. And that's what I'm always fighting for, is my ideas might not be right, but in my eyes, they are the most helpful for building a world that is good for everybody. So there might be better ways. There might be, more fair ways. I don't know. I just think that these after all the stuff that I've learned, my entire life, cumulative knowledge of my entire life has brought me to this point. Everyone has their own, and I believe what I believe. So I'm trying to explain what I believe, why I believe, how I believe, and who, what, when, where, why. And I'm also trying to not push that. I'm trying to help people get their own voice out clearly and without the sickness that I mentioned before. It in a pure way, explaining something with fairness and equality and understanding. And sometimes it's just the vocabulary that people have a problem with. It's like, you use this word that I interpret differently than you. That's why I try to explain what words are, like equality. To me, it means fairness. It doesn't mean that there should be no rich and poor, though I do believe that there shouldn't. That's something else. I would say that's more it's not even, there's no word for it really. I want, if our culture didn't, like the super rich, like the less than 1% of the people that are literally billionaires, that all they do is hoard their money, those are the people I think are bad. And then there's the super, super poor that literally have nothing. They don't have food. They don't have shelter. They don't have anything. A lot of them are mentally handicapped, that they cannot take care of themselves and they're abandoned. Then there are people that are just, they're hurt, so they can't work, or they're emotionally distraught, so they can't work. Or they're abused by somebody and then they lost everything. So they're currently in a situation when they're trying to get out of it, to be productive and get a job, and they're trying and they're not being able to do it. So those are the things I think should be talked about. There needs to be more done to help the people that need the help, and for the people that have the means to help to be, more capable of doing that, more willing to do that. Don't force it on them, but if we change our culture so that people want to do that, that's the best way to do it. There are people around the world, millions of people around the world, that would give their lives to help others. They would literally die if it meant other people would have it better. And we've seen it every day. We know they exist. We know they're there. So if we can just get all of those people and more people just to be like that, more and more and more, until everyone's like that, what kind of world would we live in? That is my dream. That is it's not even a goal, because I don't know how to do it. I don't know if it's even possible without, some crazy scheme, mind control or some random thing like that. There's no way I can see to do it for everyone in the world to be good. Just to be good to each other, to be fair, to be understanding, no more wars, no more fighting for resources that then destroy the resources, and none of that. Just pure humanity the best of humanity everywhere. Just a solid line of the best of humanity. That's what I want. And I don't think we'll ever achieve. We'll either achieve that or we'll destroy ourselves. That's really the only two options. We will either someday end all wars, or eventually a war will destroy all of us. Those are really the only two options I can foresee, because how can there be an alternative? Because there's war, which is people trying to destroy each other, and our weapons are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually we're going to have we already have the ability to glass the entire surface of the earth. So that would kill all humans. So either all wars will be stopped, or we will eventually glass the surface of every planet that has humans on it. So those are the only two eventualities I can see, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. There are bad ways to end all wars. It's like if Hitler was in charge and had won the war, and took over the entire Earth, that would end all wars. Technically, it would be a totalitarian dictatorship with enslaved masses and eugenics and mass experimentation and mass graves everywhere of people that just stopped existing because the government took them. Those are bad. I don't think those are good. It would end all wars. So there's methods, and I don't think that that's a good method, but we have to be careful about how that goes about, and I think there are better ways than others. So this video is super long. It's over 40 minutes now. So I'm going to end it, and my voice is doing pretty good today. So I think I'm going to make another video right after this about something more specific. This one was all over the place. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next video, or you see me. I can't really see you guys, so leave a comment so I can see you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this, and peace.